I used to fall asleep to unsolved case videos. Missing people. Abandoned cars. School photos and grainy convenience store footage frozen on screen while a calm voice read the timeline. It was background noise at first. Something to drown out traffic and the sound of my upstairs neighbor's TV. But after a while, they stopped being noise and became something else. An itch. I'd pause the video and search for original articles, old forum posts, people arguing about details and comments from 10 years ago. The same patterns came up again and again. She was last seen walking home from cram school. He said he was going out to buy cigarettes and never came back. The security camera caught her passing by at 2013. After that, nothing. People vanish in noisy, ordinary places. On roads you've probably walked. In convenience stores you've probably used. The one I'm going to tell you about tonight is like that. It isn't famous enough for documentaries. It doesn't have a nickname. But in a certain small coastal town in Japan, people still tell their children, "Come home before dark." You don't want to end up like her. For safety, I'll change names and blur the exact details. But the shape of what happened is real enough. Her name, in this story, is Aoi. She was 15 the summer she disappeared. First year of high school. Not especially popular, not especially bullied. Just a normal girl in a town where nothing much ever changed. There was a small shrine, a river, a few boarded-up shops on the shopping street, and a convenience store near the station that stayed open all night. In places like that, convenience stores aren't just shops. They're landmarks. Meeting points. Bright little islands of noise and light in the dark. According to the case files, the ones that were later summarized in magazine articles and then forgotten, Aoi went to the summer festival with her friends on the last Saturday of August. They ate frozen chocolate-covered bananas and watched fireworks from the riverbank. Around 9 p.m., the group broke up in front of the shrine. Some went toward the station. Some went toward the hills. Aoi said she'd stop by the convenience store near the station to buy a drink and then walk home. Her house was 15 minutes away on foot. She never made it. That's the clean version. The one people put on flyers and news reports. The Messier version is buried in interviews and late-night talk. In that one, people remember tiny details differently. A neighbor swears they saw her after 9:30 near the river, alone. A classmate says she got a text from Aoi at 9:42 saying, "The stars are crazy bright tonight, lol." A shop worker remembers a girl in a yukata coming in around 10 to ask if they'd seen a lost phone. But at the core, one thing is certain. The last confirmed, official sighting of Aoi was on the security camera at the convenience store at 21:17. She walks in wearing a light-colored yukata with a dark obi, hair up, plastic festival fan in one hand. She goes to the drink case at the back. She picks something. She pays at the register. She steps outside. The automatic door closes. 20 seconds later, she passes the camera again as she walks along the sidewalk outside, heading toward home. Her face is turned slightly toward the road, as if she's listening to something or someone just out of frame. And then, nothing. No more images. No more pings from her phone. She doesn't arrive home. She doesn't send any more messages. The next morning, her parents call the police. Searches are done. The river is dragged. Old warehouses near the port are checked. Volunteer groups comb the hills and fields. Nothing. So the official story becomes, she disappeared somewhere between the convenience store and her house. That somewhere is where people's imaginations live. There were theories, of course. A car kidnapping. An acquaintance. A stranger who happened to be passing through. The police investigated all the usual angles. They found nothing solid enough to hold. The case stayed technically open, but after a few years it became just another cold file. Aoi's classroom photos got taken down from the school hallway and put in a storage room. Her parents moved away. People stopped bringing flowers to the fence near the convenience store. Life in the town went back to normal. Almost 10 years later, a new kind of video began to appear on certain corners of the internet. The title was always similar, no matter who uploaded it. I was there the night she disappeared. Convenience store night shift staff talks. Sometimes it was or I worked at the store from 2,100 hours to 2,400 hours that summer. Most of them were obvious fakes. Voices disguised with cheap software. Stories cobbled together from old articles and urban legends. But one video, the one I found at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, felt different. No face was shown. Only a grainy view of a desk, a cup of instant coffee, and a hand tapping a cigarette out of its pack. The voice was slightly hoarse, like someone who'd been smoking for years. The title was simple. I really was the night shift guy that day. The description said, I don't care if you believe me. I just want to talk about what I saw on the tape. I clicked play. I'm not using my real name, the man's voice began. Obviously. And I'm not saying the town or the chain, so don't waste time trying to match the layout. They've remodeled it since then anyway. But I was 20 when it happened. Second year of university. I worked the night shift at that convenience store 3 times a week. It was easy money. Boring, mostly. That day was the summer festival. You know how it is, kids coming in for drinks, fireworks in the distance, people a little drunk, a little louder than usual. From 8 to 9 p.m., it was crazy. We ran out of onigiri. The trash cans overflowed. Then, around 9:30, it calmed down. That's when she came in. He took a drag from his cigarette. Sounded like he was remembering something far away but still too close. She was wearing a yukata, he said. Light one, dark obi. Hair up with a pin. You've seen the picture they show on TV. That one. She went to the drink case, took a while choosing. Picked a can of lemon soda. Paid. Said thank you. Nothing weird. She left. The automatic door closed. I noticed she dropped her festival fan near the mat, so I picked it up and was going to run after her. But when I looked outside, she was already gone. At this point in the video, he laughed nervously. I know how that sounds, he said. Convenience store doors are next to big glass windows, right? You can see up and down the street. There's nowhere to hide. But I swear, it was like she'd melted into the dark. 1 second she was there, walking past the window. I looked down, bent to get the fan, looked up, nothing. No footsteps, no rustle, no car pulling away. Just empty street. He tapped ash into an unseen tray. I shrugged it off at the time, he said. Figured she'd run. Or I'd misjudged the timing. Whatever. 2 days later, the police came and took the security footage. He paused. You've all seen the same version they showed on TV, he said. The edited one. The one that goes, she comes in, she leaves, she walks past the camera outside. Cut. Black. But that's not the real end. Something about the way he said it made my skin prickle. I was there when they reviewed it, he went on. The manager, a couple of officers, me in the back pretending to stack shelves while I watched the monitor over their shoulders. They played it once at normal speed. Once slowed down. Then frame by frame. She comes in, picks a drink, pays, leaves. Then the outside camera kicks in. You see her walking past along the sidewalk, right? Except, if you watch her feet, there's something wrong. He stubbed out the cigarette. You could hear the faint hiss. The outside camera was angled down a bit, he said. You can see the white line of the curb, the shadow of people walking, that kind of thing. When she passes, you should see her sandals touch the ground. Heel, toe. Right? But frame by frame, there's a gap. Her right foot comes down. Her heel never touches the pavement. There's air. Like she's stepping on a stair that isn't there. 1 frame, 2 frames, 3, then the picture wobbles slightly, like interference, and she's just a little higher than she should be. Not much. A few centimeters. If you don't look closely, you miss it. The officers did miss it, I think. Our manager too. They were focused on her face, on who might be behind her, on whether there were any cars in the background. But I wasn't looking at her face. I was looking at her shadow. He cleared his throat. The street light in front of the store throws shadows at a predictable angle, he said. If you watch enough late-night footage, you get used to it. Drunk guy's shadow, delivery truck shadow, stray cat shadow. When the girl walks past, her shadow does something I've never seen before. First frame, her shadow is normal. Stretching slightly behind her, hooked to her sandals. Next few frames, her body rises just that tiny bit. Like I said, like stepping onto a low stair or curb. But instead of shortening, her shadow stays on the ground. The feet of the shadow stay where they are, flat on the pavement, while her actual feet lift out of them. For 3 frames, there are 2 lower edges to her kimono. One attached to her body, one attached to a darker patch on the ground. Then the interference, like static. When the picture clears, she's normal again. Shadow and body back together. And then she walks out of frame. They rewound it a couple of times. None of them commented on it. Maybe they thought it was just a glitch. Old cameras do weird things. I didn't say anything either. Not then. He sighed. Later, when they took the tape, I went out to smoke by the back door, he said. Our manager joined me and said, "Terrible thing, eh? Poor girl. Her parents looked exhausted." I said yeah. Then the words came out of my mouth without me planning them. I said, "What if she never actually left?" He gave me a look. "You saw the footage," he said. "She walked away from the store." I didn't know how to explain what I meant. Even now, I don't, really. I just remember this feeling, like the part of her that cast the shadow had stayed behind. He let out a short, humorless laugh. "You know how they say ghosts don't make shadows," he said. "Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe when something steps out of our rules for a second, the only thing that still obeys the rules is the shadow." The video cut to a static photo for a moment, the outside of a generic convenience store at night, lights buzzing. His voice continued. "A few weeks after that, I quit that job," he said. "Not because of the case, exactly. Just life. But I still live in the same prefecture. Sometimes, when I can't sleep, I take a drive to that town. The store's been remodeled. New paint, new automatic doors, different sign. Cameras upgraded. But the street light is the same. And if you stand just outside the frame of the outside camera, just beyond where the motion sensor triggers, and look at the ground." He trailed off. Then said, very quietly, "You can see a darker patch of pavement where her shadow used to be. Like a worn spot. I don't know if it's really from her. Probably not. Probably it's just my brain connecting things. But I always feel like if I step on that patch, I'll go wherever she went for those 3 frames. And if I listen closely, I can almost hear a plastic fan hitting the floor. Over and over. Like it's still falling." The video ended there. No sponsor message. No "don't forget to like and subscribe." Just black. Normally, I would have dismissed it as creative writing for clout. But the comments were different from usual too. A few said fake or nice creepypasta, sure. But beneath those were comments from accounts with no avatars, no playlists, no other activity. I remember that night, one said in Japanese. My mother was part of the volunteer search. She said the police kept focusing on the area in front of the convenience store, not the road to the river. She always thought that was strange. Another wrote, "I used to live in a town like this. We had a case like that. The store was rebuilt 2 years ago. They never talk about it now." A third, 6 months after upload. "The store is now, chain name redacted. The outside camera angle is slightly different, but the street light is the same. Please stop coming here at night. People notice you. That last comment had 1 heart. From the uploader. The channel went inactive not long after. No new videos. Old ones slowly disappeared. By the time I went back to look for them again a year later, the whole account was gone. Deleted or banned. But I had downloaded that one video. I watched it too many times. Frame by frame. Listening not just to what he said, but how he said it. Trying to catch the places where his voice tightened. Where he lied. Because that's what unsolved case addicts do. We pick at details until the story changes shape. I started to notice how often he said we when he meant they. We found nothing in the warehouse. We thought she'd gotten into a car. We widened the search area. He wasn't part of the search team. He stacked shelves. Mopped floors. Smoked behind the store. And yet, 10 years later, he spoke as if he'd been with them every step. As if he'd gone everywhere they went. Or maybe, as if he'd gone everywhere they hadn't. There was one cut in the video that bothered me. Not the end. Not the convenience store photo. About a third of the way through, the audio jumped slightly. He said, "That's when she came in," and there was a tiny click, like an edit. Before he continued, "She was wearing a yukata." I loaded the file into a simple editing program. Magnified the waveform. Between those two sentences was a fragment less than a second long. Almost nothing. But when I boosted the volume as high as it would go, I could just make out a whispered word, like someone talking to himself and then deciding not to. It sounded like, "Again." I sat there, staring at the screen. Again. That could mean a lot of things. Again, from the top. Again, "I'll tell this." Again, "I watched her come in." Or something else. I thought about what he'd said near the end. About going back to the store at night. Standing just outside the camera's motion sensor. Looking at the patch of pavement. Feeling like if he stepped on it, he'd follow her. What if he had? What if the reason he sounded so calm, so detached, was that he'd already done it, stepped into those 3 missing frames, over and over, until he couldn't tell which side of the glass he was on anymore? It's a stupid thought. Not logical. Not helpful to the police. But that's the thing about unsolved cases. They open a door in your mind that never really closes. Sometimes, very late at night, when all the shops near my apartment have gone dark except the convenience store on the corner, I go out for a walk. I tell myself it's for exercise. That I need milk. That I don't want to sit in silence with my laptop screen glowing and another unsolved case video autoplaying. My store is nothing like the one in the story. Different chain, different layout. But there is a street light by the entrance. The outside camera is angled down just enough to catch people's faces and part of the sidewalk. When I push open the door, a chime plays. The clerk barely looks up. I wander the aisles without buying anything. Sometimes I stand near the drink case at the back and stare at my reflection in the glass. I imagine what I'd look like in the security footage. What someone would say about me in 10 years if I disappeared after buying a can of lemon soda. He looks normal. He was alone. He didn't seem scared. On my way out, I always look at the patch of sidewalk in front of the window. The light from the store makes it a flat, anonymous gray. I know there's nothing there, really. No invisible stare. No trapped shadow. But every so often, for just one step, I put my foot down a little more carefully. Heel, toe. Making sure I feel the ground. Because here's the part that really scares me. In all those videos and articles, we talk about missing people like they're ghosts. Like they melted out of the world and left only grainy footage behind. We never talk about the possibility that sometimes, the world itself misplaces things. That for 3 frames, or 3 seconds, or 3 heartbeats, something in the rules glitches. And a person slips into a place where only their shadow knows where they are. Maybe Aoi's case was a crime. Maybe the man in the video was lying. Maybe there was a car just out of frame. Maybe. That's what the logical mind says. But if you ever find yourself walking past a convenience store late at night, and the light above you flickers at the exact moment your body feels just a little too light, as if you've stepped onto a stair that isn't there, check your feet. See if your shadow is still touching them. And if it's not, remember this story. Because by the time the security camera catches you, it might already be too late for anyone to say exactly where you went.